Hi guys, pleasure to meet you all. I'm Antivirus. I'm an offensive security developer, and I'm the creator of Inceptor, which is a tool hosted on Industries. And this is the first of a series of videos that I will use to explain every user of my tool about how it has to be configured, because I've received multiple multiple contacts, multiple messages from users actually saying that it's a bit of a mess to set up, and I honestly agree with that. It's a tool that is actually comprehend a lot of other tools and other submodules. So yes, it is quite a mess to set it up. So well, let's crack on. Let's see how we can configure it. So for the task, I've downloaded Windows virtual machine from Windows itself, from Microsoft, a VMware machine. I just downloaded and executed it in VMware, and here it is. After speed it up, I just downloaded Git for Windows. You need to download it, of course, and that's the first dependency that you need to have on your system. Download it. Everything is like the default configuration is fine as long as you have Git and you can execute. If you are a Porchetta industry user, then I really recommend you to configure your SSH key for access, because for me the out configuration, I mean, at least if you have second factor authentication, the OAuth access, both with the token and with password authentication, can actually be a mess and can fail a lot. So I would actually recommend you to set up SSH access. And then after that, I just recommend you to have a config file where that you can use to access ssh.gitlab.porchetta.industries as much as you want without a lot of problems. When you set it up, this config file, when you open the git bash, you can test access by issuing the command ssh -t ssh at gitlab .gitlab .porchetta or porchetta as in Italian .industries, and it should welcome you with, well, it should, of course, you need to give it the passphrase, and it should welcome you with welcome to GitLab with your name. So that said, when you have this message, you're ready to go, you can download the repository. But before doing that, I would recommend also to download 7-zip for Windows. This is a dependency, so please download it and install it. You can download the 64-bit installer and install it on your system. And Python. So whatever Python is good. If you want Python 3.9 or 3.10 or 3.8, every of these three should be good. I didn't test with 2.7. I don't think it's actually. I don't provide any backward compatibility with Python 2, and so I would strongly recommend you to use Python 3.8, 3.9, or 3.10, right? So once you install Python, 7-zip, and Git, in this virtual machine, of course, I have already Visual Studio 2022 installed, so I don't need to install it. If you're using a standard Windows machine, you also need to use Visual Studio. So you just go on the Visual Studio and download community version. It should be good. Be sure to have the build tools installed. And yeah, everything should be ready to go like that. So I created a directory in the desktop for having just for downloading the tool. So I will just access the tool on my GitLab. So I can download it like that. So, and to download, simply issue git clone and git a GitLab. Be sure to add the SSH before GitLab, otherwise it will prompt you with a, it will just say that port 22 is not open. So now, oh, I'm sorry for that. I forgot one important thing. So when you clone the tool, please be sure to add the recursive flag. Recursive is an alias for recurse submodules, and it's actually it's needed for downloading all the submodules into Inceptor. Before I actually do it, another recommendation, I would I would add the -b dev, and the reason for that is that currently in Porchetta I still didn't release anything. Like I did commit to the dev branch. I'm regularly committing and adding stuff to the dev branch, but I didn't actually produce any measured release, meaning that the main branch is more or less the same as the public version. Instead, the dev branch is going in a completely different direction. A lot of breaking changes have been introduced. So if you're using this version, there is no compatibility with the old version. And as soon as this is actually very stable and everything is fine, I will probably issue a measured release. I think I will issue it in 1 week or 2 weeks probably, because we're stable enough at this point. But I welcome you to open issues if you find any. If you're using the tool, please open issues and let me know what you don't like, etc. Now, downloading the tool, of course, you will see the tool downloading now and all the yes. So the submodules, which are not public, like SysWhispers 3 or Chameleon, are hosted on Porchetta. So I would really recommend you to use your SSH key for accessing these submodules. If you don't have SSH, I cannot guarantee that these modules will be downloaded correctly. And the reason is I don't know if OAuth will actually be sufficient, right? So another thing you want to do, let's ensure that Python is installed correctly. Is installed, perfect. Another thing we need to do is go into Inceptor, and the first thing you want to do is to create a virtual environment. So if you don't have virtual env, the first command you need to issue is py-m pip install and virtual env. I already installed it, right? So we don't need it, but just to let you know. Second thing you need to do is py -m virtual env env. So we will create a virtual environment for Inceptor, of course, to avoid issues. For now, Inceptor is not using Poetry. I will enable it as soon as I can, I promise. Even because working with John McClain, I actually need to do it. Otherwise, I would be banned from Porchetta probably. Just kidding. But so, and when it's configured, when the virtual environment is configured, we can go into the scripts directory, activate it, and we now can proceed with the installation of all the modules required for the tool. So it can take a while because there are a lot of dependencies, and each dependencies has other dependencies. So in the end, there are really a lot of packages that need to be installed. But don't freak out. Be patient. It will be done. And after that, we will. Right. Seems like it was very fast for now, but it can take a while. So when we done with everything, we can go into Inceptor again. And now we will need to run. So the first thing we need to do is to run the update config script. The update config script is a script that can actually help you out setting up all dependencies. And of course, it will identify that we have Visual Studio, but we don't have MinGW. And after that, it will actually try to locate all the compilers we need. And after that, it will try to say, listen, you don't have Clang, so you already saw it, like Windows Clang not installed. Open Microsoft download site. It will say, please download Visual Studio, and with Visual Studio we can download Clang. CLang is not required as a compiler. And after that, it will actually check LLVM obfuscate. LLVM obfuscate, you can choose to download the precompiled binary, even though actually, like I provide static binaries, but it's not 100% sure they will work on your system. We can try to download them now. The tool will download it. So, and we'll unpack them in the right direction, in the right directory. But you can also use another utility to download the source and compile it. We will try it. I don't know if in this video or in another video we will try to do it. It's very simple actually, and while the tool is maturing, it's more and more simple to get things running, but it's still a bit cranky. So for now we will try if it works with the precompiled binaries, and let's cross fingers. Otherwise it will be an excuse to show you how to compile them from scratch. It seems like it's been quite fast. Well, it's just alpha gig. My connection is not failing me. So after he identified and unpacking also requires a bit of time, because the the dimension on LLVM CLang is around 2 gigs. So of course, even to unpack, you need a bit of time. I might actually transform this upload, this update into an async updater. But for now it's synchronous, so we need to wait until the unpacking is finished to keep going. Right, it's finished. So CLang has been identified, and I don't want the logo for now. Well, actually, let's add the original logo just to see it. It's been a while until I see the logo again. And we've done with that, so we can actually start and seeing if we can compile our first binary. So before, I actually skipped something. Before doing anything of that, I would recommend you to switch any protection, and to in manage settings, I would recommend to add to the exclusion the C users user desktop dev directory, right? This is very important actually. I forgot to mention, but this is very important because one of the reasons is that inside tests there are shellcodes which are known as malicious. Like for example, there is msven and winexec notepad, which is signature that's malicious, or there is mimikatz, or certify, or rubus. So these are just tests binaries, just to test a few things with Inceptor. But that, of course, they will be treated as malicious, so you will not be able to clone everything, right? So I would really recommend you to not download anything until you disabled every sort of protection from this machine. As soon as you add the exclusion, the directory to the exclusion, everything should be fine. You can re-enable real-time protection and everything. But before you added the exclusion, it's better to disable any protection before cloning. Right, so let's start now. Let's see if it works. Like for now, it should work. At least the basic example, it should work. So we'll do something like that, right? And it seems like it's working. It's compiling. Perfect. This should be a spawn notepad, and it successfully completed. Perfect. So we actually we managed to do the basic, but now there is another problem. Like you don't have a few things like natively. So because a lot of people actually told me that in the update process they didn't really like that there wasn't a possibility to actually add everything as a Git repository instead of having these huge exe files inside the main repository. I really agree with them. So I actually developed for Porchetta, I developed this. So this folder, the update folder, is a series of handlers. And if you check into libraries, there is limited support yet for this. But there are a few tools that can be downloaded and built, right? So, for example, there is Dinbook, there is Donut, TreeCheck, LLVM Obfuscator as well, as strong as fuck, which is not working at the moment, I don't know why. There is LogicNet and ConfuseryX, NPA2 Shellcode, and SGN. So, like now, if you try to use with this, you try to use SGN, it should not work. Why? Because missing SGN binary file. Same thing apply if you want Donut. If you want Donut, you won't find it. So in order to have these useful libraries, what you need to do is to issue manage libs and update. So you will be prompted with a set of updates that you can actually use. So one of them is Donut. We want Donut. So Donut will be downloaded, and then we can successfully build it. So if we do something like that, build the Donut, it will actually try to compile Donut for x64. Once it's compiled, it will automatically compile it, right? So it doesn't need anything from any input from you. And if it's successfully configured, now you should be able to use Donut. So now we'll use an exe because with the shellcode it's not really, and we will try to pack this exe into another artifact, not to exe. So it's packed within itself. It uses Donut without any issue, and takes a while. Classic, please. And compile. Of course, takes always a bit to compile. Compilers are like that. Now artifacts, node 2, and we have, yes, we have it again. we have 2 times the input because of course this was like packed into itself. And so we have it. Same thing happens with PE2 shellcode. So PE2 shellcode is not there by default. Yes, the system cannot find the file specified. So we need still to manage libs update -d PE2sh downloaded, and now we can issue the tool again, even although he actually failed to convert it. Well, need to work out on that, which is a bit strange. But yeah, we'll work out on that. But we have downloaded the dependency update again. So what we want is potentially I want to show you even a bit of problems with this. So one of the problems with this. Another problem is, let's download SGN as well, right? Perfect. And now we should be able to use this SGN. Let's see if it works. Shikaraganai. Everything works fine. Now, perfect. Yeah, artifacts, note again, and it's working. Perfect. Now, in updates, there are also some issues, of course. So let's see an example of issue. So of course you can choose. Sometimes you need to update and build and this you can find it here. The information is here. So practically this libraries JSON is it's a file that describes the behavior of the tool when it found something. Like for example, you have a list of objects, you have a tools, like it's a JSON, just a JSON object, and with just one key, which is the tools, and the tools is a list with the name of the tool, which is also the name of the directory that will be created, and the information on the source for the tool, and if available on the binaries for the tool. For example, if you go on Donut, you have the main URL of the repository. You know that you need to download the repository with Git. You have information on the branch. You can select that branch, master branch. By default, if the branch is null, is the master branch. But we can also use the dev. We will make a try just after this. And there are also information on the binaries, right? Same thing, you have the invoke, and everything is like that. It gives the destination, so where the final executable or the final directory of the tool should be, and it gives information on the Git, how to build, what kind of compiler it should build, ms build or mmake or whatever, and the tool will automatically see this information and behave otherwise. There is no full support for everything, of course, but if you want a tool insert into this, if you want to have another version of the invoke, it's very easy. You just need to put the other URL you want to. For example, you have a self-developed version of the invoke, which is like signature free, and just need to add the Git file to that or the binary repository to that, and then you can download it. But how it downloads? Well, there is a preference key. So the preference is source. When you run update, if the preference is source, it will download the source, and then you need to build it using the build command. And instead, if you put here binaries, it will select the binary and it will update like that, right? So of course there are some issues with this, and for example, the invoke is the first one. So if you clone the invoke Git and you try to compile, you will find a surprise. the reason you will find a surprise is that the invoke by default is configured to be built with .NET version v3.5. So as you can see, it's very easy. Like, the tool actually identifies the problem, right? And also gives you the URL to it also gives you the URL to actually download the version 3.5. You can do two things in this case. You can or download the .NET Framework 3.5, or you can open this project with Visual Studio and retarget the solution. Now, why this is happening? The point is, I didn't find a way to retarget the solution automatically. If you have any insight on how you can do that without actually invoking Visual Studio, opening Visual Studio, etc., well, that would be really appreciated. But if you don't have it, well, you need to do it manually. But there is a solution, of course. There is also releases of the invoke. So if you switch to binaries and you rerun the update, what happens is that you retry to download Visual, and it will download the DLL and it will update it. So it's up to you. If you want to build your own version, it makes sense that you stick to the sources and you build it, and you find a way to build it. If not, you can download the DLL and you're done with that, right? So other things you can download, of course, are the .NET Obfuscator. I didn't want to add them as well as it was in the public version as .exe file because actually it didn't make sense. So I thought it was good to just make this utility. As you can see, it's very easy to download them, and to use them is really no-brainer, because, well, I mean, it's always the same stuff. .NET, .e, right? Encodes, classic, merging resources, use select confusory X, and it's obfuscating, manage to do it, artifacts, no .txt again, and yes, you're done. So this is how you build the tool, download the tools, right? I think I also have a version of trick check myself. I didn't check it. Trick check is another repository that is targeted for version. No, it's the Rasta mouse thing. All right. Trick check also has some issues at the moment because it uses. I mean, it's not required for the tool to operate, right? But of course, it's required if you want to check. And yes, it has this problem. Like, you need to download .NET version v4.0, or as before, you need to open libs, public, sources, tree check SLN. You open Visual Studio. Visual Studio will ask you to retarget the solution, right? Let's try it out together, because this is it's not like the invoke that you can download the DLL. There is no .exe file for this, so we will try to solve the issue. And it will actually ask you, update to the target, right? And as long as you have the .NET Framework 4.8, right, you retarget this solution now, right? So everything should be fine, mostly. Let's wait for it. All right. Now we can close it. Once retargeted, we can close it. We can retry building, and if it was retargeted, it should build. right? It's trying to compile. Oh, it's missing a dependency, it seems. Ah, so that's actually incredible. That's actually incredible, yes. So it seems that it can't find. It seems that it couldn't find the command line DLL. It's a common problem. And NuGet didn't manage to. So this is the same problem of LogicNet. LogicNet has the same problem, but NuGet can actually be used to avoid the issue. So if you build this and you build LogicNet, it will actually show the same problem. Like it can't find dnlib, but it can actually restore. And once it's restored, it is able to configure. For some reason, it doesn't manage to do it automatically in tree check. I'm not sure why. I think it's a problem of repositories. So let's try like this. The folder, tree check again. Yeah. All right. So now you should be able to do it. So let's try to build. Tree check. Let's see if it works. Yes, it worked. So there is a problem with the detection of the right directory from NuGet. Right, I need to work on that. Right, but everything should work like that. So tree check should be operating and should be up and running, etc. That's good. Let's try to use it to see if it works. So I'm sure that it's working, right? So to use it, -z before .NET, before the action command. Classic, yeah, confuseryx. You should actually find it, guys. I'm pretty sure, yes. Well, Defender bypassed, but real-time protection is disabled, so yeah, of course. Okay, so everything is good, right? Everything is good, it's working, and the tool should be more or less fully operating, right? So this was the preliminary introduction on the tool and how to update it successfully. I hoped this was useful, and after this I will make some other videos to show you more advanced features of the tools, and I think that from now I would probably do a stream on this tool regularly. Thanks for watching, and see you next time, guys.